Our day after the official election, we're looking at Wednesday, November 4th. Thanks for stopping by to Options Premium Daily. I'm your host, John, the options trading Prius driver. And we'll have to work on that. But nonetheless, we are looking at an interesting time. And the subject for today's premium, we're looking at the post-election day setups. Now, there's a lot to consider. Honestly, I think the market threw a little bit of a curveball at everyone today, but I'm really curious to see how it goes. I'm not so super convinced on today's move, and I'll show you why. So right now we're looking at the VIX here, and this kind of volatility. You can see early in the year we skyrocketed, probably the craziest highs I've ever seen in my life. And we sort of came down, and we've been elevated ever since. We haven't dropped lower than 20 at all this year, which for me is crazy. I always expect it to kind of normalize back to 15 or 10. And nonetheless, we have stayed extra volatile. So you'll see today, big drop, great. But note that we are still well above, say, 25, which to me is a key level. And so I think there is still more potential volatility to come. So if we see more bars like this in the next few days, that's great. It really helps my bullish positions, but I am hedged up in case we see a big drop. We'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, let's look at the S&P today. So on the SPY, we are up. You'll see a great bar for today. Kind of near the highs. We got maybe an hour, half an hour actually until close. And you can see that the high in February we have almost as a sort of important level. And how ironic that's when the start of the COVID drop happened, we happen to be going above that today. So I don't really know the exact significance, honestly, and I think anyone could read into it differently. But the way I view this is that the volume to me is not great. You'll see it's kind of a pretty low volume, so there doesn't seem to be a lot of conviction to today's move. Maybe we'll get some really late day buying that could show this more. You'll see down here, pretty low on the volume side, and maybe with the Qs too. Actually, let's check one more thing. I just want to look at the weekly just for fun. Yeah, not bad. You'll see if we close out the week near the high, that's great. But I'd really like to see more volume pick up during the week in general. So we'll see. I really think these next 2 days in the market will be very important. Let's go to the Qs weekly and see what we're working with. Okay, so very similar look, similar effect. We are still technically in an uptrend, so you'll see these higher highs, higher lows. So that is semi-encouraging on the tech side for sure. Let's look at the dailies. Kind of same, but I do notice the volume is at least a little higher than yesterday's. Not bad. I'm kind of mixed bag here. IWM I found to be personally the weakest, and you will see kind of a similar thing. We're kind of closing below actually what I've pegged as a resistance level here. At about the 160 mark, 160.50 or something like that. So very interesting. I do have some short-term puts actually in IWM because I was thinking if we see a drop, this might be the biggest one to go. So that still is in play. We'll find out. We will see how it goes. Keep in mind, again, this is not investment advice. Really, this is educational. I think it's important that people understand their finances and their future, and that they can kind of take that at least relatively into their own hands. You should consult a financial advisor and planner, but I think it is important to at least understand what is going on in the world and with your own finances. So with that being said, let's look at a few other things. Personally, I am insanely bullish on gold. GLD here, you'll see we had kind of a down day, fine, that's great. We're still in this trading range, and I'm okay. The more we consolidate here, and then if we take off quite a bit with volatility, then that seems to maybe work well here. So gold, let me show you some interesting things. Here's the weekly. We are a little bit outside of a certain range. Maybe I can move these bars in the future. We will see. But we sort of broke a channel. But you can see what gold likes to do is it'll consolidate for a while and then make a leg. Consolidate, make a leg up. Consolidate, leg up. And here we are again consolidating. And this is on the weekly chart. If I actually go to the monthly and over a long time period here, you will see what I think is the most biggest conviction here. So here's the previous high, which was like 10, 11 years ago, something like that, 9 years ago. And it was at the 185 level, and that was after a massive leg up from like 2000. We went from $41 to 185. That's nuts. And then we sort of built all this consolidation, and now we're getting up towards supply, and we're sort of tapering off to exhaust that. And then really for me, I see this going up higher, especially over the long term. And you look at all the other macro things. To me, it's what drives my bullishness in gold and silver and Bitcoin. So, like I said, this is only for educational reasons. This is not investment advice, but that is my thesis personally. And I do like the setups I'm seeing in the chart. So, for example, let's look at Bitcoin too really quick. And you're going to see another interesting thing. We have actually reached kind of a fresh high, at least for the year. So that's important. Please note that. And then also when I go to the weekly, you'll see we've also breached a previous high. So this almost has a very similar gold chart pattern. So even if we consolidate a little bit more at these levels, I'm very okay with that. That actually makes me even more interested in Bitcoin at that point. If we do take off, I have a little bit of a position. I'm fine with that. Fine, let's go for it. But again, keep in mind the macros. We're looking at presidential election, volatility, all the banks are printing money, and we have COVID risks. So there is a lot to contend with here, and that is what I think is setting up well for a lot of these metals and digital gold here. So next is going to be EWZ. I actually have a leap put in this, but I'm looking to maybe add if we come up closer to this resistance level at the 31, 32 line. Same thing with EWZ. Brazil is just kind of weak. They were on the up and up the last couple years, and they're starting to run into issues as it is. So that is another thing to look at. But EWZ is one that I'm looking at for a short position. Now next, Palantir is probably one of my other really favorite setups, especially for the price. Right now I'm trading at 10.75. We're looking at maybe breaching this $11 mark, and then that is when it should start taking off a bit. So it is having a nice setup. Same thing, lower lows, higher lows. Higher highs, higher lows. And if it continues that trend, that should be good, especially this year, next year, and so on. I do have leaps in this on the upside, so not too bad. And then we'll close out for my finals. Decided to pull the wifey and see what she has going on. And mind you, she doesn't look at this stuff every day, and she always has great opinions. So she is bullish Kanye, but unfortunately, since Kanye dropped out of the election, now you have to be bearish on the market. So take that into account. And based on that, she has her Starbucks is the other, it's the wifey indicator. She's neutral there, and actually I'm with her on that because you can see we're touching these resistance lines quite a bit. That will be a lot to contest. We tried to attempt that today. You can see it like the 90 level, and now we're dropping off of that here. So we will see. It might end up in a range, but I don't see a lot of catalysts that get me excited about Starbucks for the time being. So neutral, wifey indicator. And then the other one she had said is for Bitcoin bullish, and that's just one of those yeah sure whatever scenarios. So she is good on that, and I'm happy with that too. And let's see where it shakes out. So those are kind of the main things to contend with regarding post-election setups, but I do see more volatility ahead. It seems to me that there is still more uncertainty than we over anticipated, and I can see that, especially with Trump, he's kind of easy to peg in terms of volatility. So let's see where it shakes out. I'll meet you on the other side of this week, and we'll come through seeing how our trades turn out. All right. Thank you for stopping by, and see you on the next one. Bye-bye.